Hey guys, Mike here. So we had FOMC day, and it was the most muted reaction I've ever seen on FOMC, which is exactly how it should be. That's how it used to be back in the normal days, of course, before the Fed president became a rock star out there doing these interviews. But let me just be very clear before we get into charts or anything else. Didn't raise rates, didn't talk about any kind of easing. It actually sounded more hawkish than you would think. But honestly, the whole deal was they don't know. There's just so much uncertainty because the tariffs are just kicking in. And so they don't know how long they're going to stay in effect, what the final outcome is going to be. So they have no idea really how, and I told you, it's a scientific experiment. It's some kind of simulation right now. We don't know how it's going to affect us because we've never seen this before, okay? And so that's what they said. The market's like, okay, cool. And it kind of whipsawed there at the very end once he finally stopped running his mouth. And he got some of the stupidest questions I've ever heard from reporters. I don't know how they got their jobs, but, it is what it is. So, again, back in the day, there was no reaction off really FOMC, but now, of course, everything's media-driven and everything else. Now, we're going to get into all the earnings, some big charts, especially like Google has some news today. Minus saw it got absolutely slammed big time today. I'll talk to you about that one. We'll look at the charts and also something very important to watch out when you're seeing those kind of drops, which I did share with members as well a couple times over the last week now. Instead of just buying blindly, trying to just catch a falling knife, this might help you out. But also, I wanted to let you listen because, there's all this big thing about, are we going to get trade deals? Are we not going to get trade deals? How's this thing going to end up? This right here, it was President Trump late last night, and this sums up, I think, to me, exactly what he's looking for in case there's any questions about it. Okay, any questions, like this should sum up what the man is saying.
We also have a situation, because everyone says, when are you going to sign deals? We don't have to sign deals. We could sign 25 deals right now, Howard, if we wanted. We don't have to sign deals. They have to sign deals with us. They want a piece of our market. We don't want a piece of their market. We don't care about their market. They want a piece of our market. So we can just sit down, and I'll do this at some point over the next 2 weeks, and I'll sit with Howard and Scott and with our great vice president, who has done a really good job. We have some good news to report on a lot of fronts. But JD will be there, and Marco, and we're going to sit down, and we're going to put very fair numbers down, and we're going to say, here's what this country, what we want, and congratulations, we have a deal. And they'll either say, great, and they'll start shopping, or they'll say, not good, we're not going to do it. I said, that's okay, you don't have to shop. Now, we may think, well, they have a right, that maybe we were a little bit wrong, so we'll adjust it. And then you people will say, oh, it's so chaotic. No, we're flexible. But we'll sit down, and we'll, at some point, in some cases, we'll sign some deals. It's much less important than what I'm talking about. For the most part, we're just going to put down a number and say, this is what you're going to pay to shop. And it's going to be a very fair number. It'll be a low number. We're not looking to hurt countries. We want to help countries. We want to be friendly with countries. But you keep writing about deals. When are we going to sign? When? It's very simple. We're going to say, in some cases, we want you to open up your country. In some cases, we want you to drop your tariffs. I mean, India, as an example, is one of the highest tariffs in the world. We're not going to put up with that. And they've agreed already to drop it. They'll drop it to nothing. They've already agreed. They would have never done that for anybody else but me. So we're going to put down some numbers, and we're going to say our country is open for business. And they're going to come in, and they're going to pay for the privilege of being able to shop in the United States of America. It's very simple. It's very simple. And I think my people haven't made it clear. We will sign some deals, but much bigger than that is we're going to put down the price that people are going to have to pay to shop in the United States. Think of us as a super luxury store.
And so hopefully everybody's got that, right? We're the big store, the luxury store, and people got to pay to shop here. Okay, again, we don't know how this is going to work out. Don't know. But here's the funny thing. I couldn't imagine being a prime minister or a president, whatever the title is, sitting beside him talking like this when I'm here to negotiate. And that's what I'm telling you. Whoever's coming to negotiate is winning nothing. Like, they have to give up a lot, okay, just to keep shopping at this store. So, and they can't just do that on a willy-nilly whim, okay, because it really, remember, a lot of these countries have what? Universal health care. Some of them pay for college, have all these benefits we don't have here. And so understand that that's something that will be affected big time if all of a sudden their economy starts to go down and their revenue from the government starts to go down as well. Okay, so you got to understand that. So first of all, look at the new Prime Minister of Canada's face as Trump is saying what he's saying to him.
This is a very friendly conversation, but we want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada. And we put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things because we want to be able to do it ourselves. And we, because of, past thinking of people, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. In other words, they have a surplus with us. And there's no reason for us to be subsidizing Canada. Canada's a place that will have to be able to take care of itself economically. I assume they can. I will tell you that Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking we want to make them ourselves. I said, and if the price of your cars went up, or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you? He said, that would mean the end of Canada. He actually said that to me. And I said, that's a strange answer, but I understand his answer. But no, it's hard to justify subsidizing Canada to the tune of maybe $200 billion a year. We protect Canada militarily, and we always will. We're going to, that's not a money thing. But we always will. But, it's not fair. But why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year, or whatever the number might be? It's a very substantial number. And it's hard for the American taxpayer to say, gee whiz, we love doing that.
And so that's right. We don't want anything from you. That's basically, did you see his face? He's like, oh, okay. Because at that point in time, you're like, what are we negotiating here? Like, you don't want any of our stuff, which of course is why they're behind the scenes trying to get that oil pipeline built. They're talking to China. They're talking to the EU. Like, they're trying to get different trade deals done. And what's really weird about it, I don't know if it's in that clip or not, but like 50% of cars that come from Canada are American made. Like, there's nobody else in the world that is like that. And so that is true, but I don't know. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't really know why they're going after Canada as much as they would. I would definitely believe we need to go after China and isolate them and all that good stuff. So, we'll see how this is going to work out. It sounds like the way it's looking is that we're going to have some kind of tariff for sure, like a 10% baseline across everybody, no matter what. And that is the cost of doing business, okay? And then there's going to be other ways where, like you said, we're going to try to open up the market and say, you need to buy our stuff or whatever. So you can see where these are going to take time. Like, this ain't going to be, I can't imagine it being super fast, because the countries are going to have to go back, run a boatload of numbers and say, if we give up all this and they don't buy all this from us, what does this look like for us? Because remember, they have to get elected too. So they can't just start laying people off in their country and go, oh, but we made a good deal. You know what I'm saying? So either way it works, none of the other countries are going to get good deals at all, right? This is America first, us, and whether you agree with it or not, okay? And again, when it comes to countries, yeah, China is the one we need to isolate and figure out something to do with. But if you can, what I thought about this when I was listening to that is, if that's how he's approaching Canada, remember, China, is going to get it way worse, right? I can't imagine how they're going to work out a deal ever. I can't even wrap my brain around how that's going to happen, right? Because China's already taken measures to try to stimulate their economy. They're going all over the globe right now, traveling everywhere, trying to talk to. They're already in Canada. They're buying oil from Canada. They're all kind of putting business offices in Canada, all kinds of stuff. And so that's going to be the interesting thing as that plays out. And they're not a country who usually you can play hardball with. There's a reason why we've never really gotten a real trade agreement with them in the first place. And so it's going to be interesting to say the least. Let me know what your thoughts are on that, please. And if you got any insights. And the problem is, it's so hard to get accurate information on what is actually going on in China, right? Because they have a state-run media. I see stuff coming out of there, and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound too bad. And I look over here and go, wow, they have 200, I think it's either 100 million or 200 million units that are vacant, basically, right? Because we know their real estate bubble just went boom, okay, down the tubes. That's how they were generating a lot of their GDP and things like that. And so now it's about the manufacturing. Now the manufacturing is taking a huge hit. And all I'm seeing, and maybe I'm wrong, but the news I'm seeing is they're basically shutting down factories. People aren't working. It's not a good thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but again, it's hard to get the accurate stuff. I do read the comments, and some people say it's not as bad as you think. And again, I don't argue with you on that a bit. It might not be. I don't live there. I can tell you this: I had some friends that lived next door that moved to Alabama that lived there for 5 years, and they loved it. They said it was great. They said, just don't get out of line. That's what they said. Just don't get out of line and you'll be fine. Okay. But, as far as technology, sophistication, like all that stuff, my buddy's in construction, like he's gone over there before and seen how they build bridges and stuff. They say they're light years ahead of us in some areas. I mean, but of course, why? Because that's what one of our biggest beefs are. Our tech companies keep saying they're stealing our IP. Other companies saying they're stealing our IP. So yeah, it's easy to get light years ahead of us when you don't have red tape and you're stealing people's IP and don't have to start from the bottom to work your way up. That's my thoughts on it. I could be totally wrong. Again, let me know if you're a China expert. I always listen to you guys, okay? Now, at least to listen to your opinion. I'm saying I'll agree with it, but I do love to hear your opinion and stuff. Now, looking at earnings and stuff tomorrow, some more big ones, Peloton, Shopify, ConocoPhillips. You'll have your crypto stocks reporting as well. Trade Desk, Coinbase, Marathon Digital, Mercado Libre, Cloudflare, SoundHound, DraftKings, and Affirm. Man, Upstart got crushed today, but it made a nice recovery of 10%. So we'll see how Affirm's going. And then as far as data, unemployment claims, and then the 30-year bond auction. The 10-year bond auction seemed to have gone fine. And then Friday, nothing but Fed speakers, so don't even worry about that stuff right there. And to start off with, it looks like Josh Brown's looking like a genius by the day. I told you guys when he sold Google, he bought Netflix. And just look at Netflix. I mean, just green, 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 up like 43%, I believe, since he bought it right there. And then he sold Google to go into Netflix. And look at Google. Ugh. Especially after the day. Even before, it wasn't really doing anything, but look at the day. Oh my goodness. So wiped out about 2 weeks worth of gains right there. Filled that gap right there. And of course, what happened to Google was some bad news. Google stock sinks on report Apple plans to integrate AI search into Safari browser. So that could hurt their business. We'll have to find out. And again, filled some gaps, came down. That shaded area has always been money for a bounce. We'll see if it's going to want any more liquidity on the downside right there. But you can see, I mean, below the 50, below the 200, I mean, that's a mess right there. But we got a okay bounce, not too much. And like I told members, I put out a couple videos showing this. Instead of trying to buy, when you're getting this falling knife right here, instead of trying to buy a falling knife, like you need to wait for some kind of structure to form, like some kind of change of character in it when it's dropping like a hot knife through butter and stuff. And you look, see where it's going. Oh, look, there's a daily fair value gap. There's a shaded area. That's a point of interest. There's this gap right here, which I put this line on, posting in the Discord. It's like, boom, and it bounced to the penny right there, right? But that's not where I'll be buying anyway. And a lot of people are trying to buy on the way down. And I'm like, just wait, because what normally happens is on a falling knife scenario, sometimes you get V-shaped recoveries, but sometimes you get this, where it'll have this trend line that'll form, right? And I call it a liquidity trend line. And it'll just reject, reject, reject. And then what you're waiting for is like a 1 minute change of character. You see it come up. If it forms a fair value gap below, especially an inverse fair value gap, you're looking for it to come down and bounce. And then you go, right? So that's when I came in on it. And so, again, it's one of those things where don't just try to buy a falling knife, Try to get something with a change of character, some structure built out, and then try to go into it, okay? And break that trend line. That's what you're looking for. Now, Apple real quick. What's crazy is, here's Google going down. Apple looks terrible. I mean, Apple since earnings. Look at it, had all those green days. It's been down 4 days in a row. And even on this news, it still went down. And again, 50's declining, 200's flattening out. 100's already crossed the 200s. Now you got the 50 and the 100 crossing the 200. So the 100's turning down as well. And again, that shaded area, maybe we get some relief. It's coming down there. It filled a gap down there as well, just like Google did. Maybe you finally get a bounce, but it's going to be tough for the market to continue to push up if you got Apple and Google suffering down there and not moving up. Remember, because Apple's very, very heavily weighted. And so this is definitely in this area of interest. We come back in here. We got a strong bounce out of it. There's that trend line, which goes way back for Google. I think it goes back to 08 crash or something. Again, and so you need to see a turn if we're going to continue to push through the 200 moving average and things of that nature. I'm not saying it can't move up. Like I said, we moved up big the other day when it was down 5%. So maybe the market's moving on without it because other stocks and videos trying to come back to life a little bit, not too much. Semiconductors are trying to wake up. AMD woke up a little bit. SMCI is a complete mess. And again, we're almost at the 50 fib retracement down from that low right there. And so we'll see if it wants any more. If it comes down to shady area, that golden pocket might be a good time to look at calls or whatever, and we'll see. But yeah, Apple looks like a mess right now. Now, HIMS continues to pump right here. It filled this gap today. So now we're almost at the golden pocket right here. This would be an interesting spot because once it filled the gap, it started to come down, go red, then went back green. We started pumping late in the afternoon. There is a gap right above. Then we'll continue to squeeze this. Again, there's no way in hell I'd be chasing this thing up like that. But, I'm not a short squeeze type person. But again, if it came down, I'm looking at, a 50% retracement down from the latest low right there. And so that would be in a daily fair value gap right there. Actually, a 4-hour fair value gap, excuse me. into that 50 and then see if it bounces. But again, short squeezes, they usually just leave you behind. So it is what it is, and the calls are pretty freaking expensive right now. So anyway, let me know how you're playing that one. Disney, of all things, if I told you Disney was the best performer coming out of earnings of all these stocks, besides Hims, of course, then I know you'd be like, I'm crazy. But there it is. Just kept bouncing and bouncing off that buy zone right there. Got the earnings, went up 12% this morning. And so, of course, here's the sell zone that, I call it a sell zone between like 116 and 126 right there because it's sold off so many times. But yeah, let me know in the bottom if you would have guessed Disney was going to be the top performer over AMD and Palantir and all these other stocks and stuff. Now it's coming up into some liquidity right there. I won't be surprised after this big move if we get a move back down first. And you're just looking for a higher low to be set. You're looking for that trend line right there, which goes back to like 1974. Is that right? Yeah, 1974 to be held if it does come back down. And so that'd be a big one. But yeah, that one stunned me. I was absolutely shocked. So congratulations for the Disney owners. And they even said that tourism has not been bad. Like this is the one I was waiting to see. Like, oh, really? Because I live in Florida and we'll see what happened. And they're going to start building one, I believe, in the Middle East somewhere or something. New ones of people like that. But this is a prime example of one of those stocks that's in a buy zone. It's just hammered down. It's been consolidating like crazy, as you see, in that range. And got a nice bounce. We'll see where it goes from here. Again, if tariffs stay on and people stop coming, you can't imagine Disney's going to be doing that great. But, we'll have to find out how the summer tourism stuff is going to go. Again, a lot of people prepay from what I'm hearing. So they'll come anyway. You don't want to lose it. So I want to prepay for my vacation, but it's in America, so I'm good to go. But, we'll see. If you happen to live in another country, Canada, England, Australia, wherever you live at, let me know if you're seeing anybody or you talk about not coming to America. I want to know. I mean, I know the flights are down, other things have been down, but I want to see if this is going to continue to be an issue as these trade agreements and things and tariffs take place and continue to drag out, especially if they go into summertime, which is right around the corner. I mean, I can't believe my vacation is 3 weeks away. I'm like, wow, that's stunning. So, just want to know so I can share with everybody, please. So on your way out, please hit that like and subscribe button right there. Think about signing up for the membership and less than the McDonald's combo, and I will see you guys later.